Hello everyone, welcome to Caffeinated Cast-Ons. My name is Therese, also known as Caffeinated Cast-Ons here on YouTube. Welcome. Today is Monday, September 1st. It is Labor Day and the start of the Burr months, so the best time of the year, so I'm excited. Welcome. If you're new, welcome. This is episode 73 of Caffeinated Cast-Ons. I'm a North Texas-based knitter, and this is my YouTube channel where I talk about my projects I'm making. Think of this as a video version of Ravelry project pages where I take you through my projects. We talk about notes, modifications, yarn, needle sizes, thoughts, anything like that you would find on a Ravelry project page. This is it in video form, so I can take you through and we can go along this making journey together. If you are new, be sure to subscribe by hitting that button, and then thank you for those who return for each episode as we talk about all things knitting. Let's see, I don't have any finished objects. I am in the middle of my quarterly project, so I have some whips to take you through, some goals, some interesting adventures that I need to take with some projects. So buckle up. This one's going to be a jam-packed episode. I also have Fiberfest tips because we are a little more than 2 weeks away for Fiberfest. Today is September 1st. Fiberfest is the 19th, 20th, and 21st of September. And so later on in this video, I have a whole bunch of tips just on the Fiberfest experience, what to expect, some things you might want to take into consideration. So it should be a fun one, so buckle up. I am caffeinated. I do have some cold brew. This is my second cup of coffee of the day. I've just got some cold brew and creamer here to sip on as we chit chat. I do want to give an update on a giveaway. I have some yarn en route to me. I should get it hopefully by tomorrow. And so not this episode, but next episode, we will be having a giveaway for reaching 500 subscribers. So be sure to come back for that. It's going to be a fun one. What else? Yeah, like I mentioned, it's September 1st. It's been a little bit since my last episode. Life has been super crazy. The household got sick with like a nice end of summer cold, and then work was very busy. I had a lot of projects to deliver for my full-time job, and we've just been trying to get back into the routine of the school year. So it's been a lot going on in the house, and I feel like, especially with it being the September 1st, it's like, now let's get into a routine. Let's settle down into the coziness. So very excited for that. So let's talk whips. I think I will start with my most problematic whip, if that's the right word. So if you are new, each quarter this year I have been knitting one garment per quarter, and quarter 3 is the Skyline Tee by Tori Yu of Tori Knits NYC. And this project, one, I love the pattern. Let me just start off by saying that. It's a lovely written pattern, very clear instructions. It's a saddle shoulder construction, so it's a little bit different than any of like the typical like raglan or what other, I can't think of other constructions, but it's a very new to me construction as far as garments go. And last time I showed, well, the last couple times I've showed this project, I have been a tad bit annoyed because there is a clear line where I join skeins. It is the same dye lot, but I think that's just the name of the game that happens with indie dyed yarns, especially just with certain colors. Anyways, at first I was gonna push through, but I don't think I can. Each time I look at this line, I get more and more annoyed and upset that it's there. And a couple of you had commented on my last video, I believe, and said, if it's gonna bug you, you're not gonna wear it. And I was like, no, I'll wear it. I made my knit. Like, but it's not so much that I wouldn't wear it, it's more of like how I feel when I wear it. And I decided, like, I'm going to fix it. It took some pep talks with a couple of my knitting friends at a knit night. And it's like, you know what? You paid good money for that yarn. This yarn does have cashmere in it. Like, the yarn wasn't cheap. And I don't expect my knits to look store-bought, but I expect them to look well made. And to me, just that line did not sit well with me, that there was a line in there. I'm an experienced knitter, and so I wanted to get it fixed. As much as I was protesting helical knitting or alternating skeins, like, let me talk you through the beginnings of this sweater surgery extravaganza. So as I mentioned, this is the Skyline Tee. Last time I showed this project, I didn't knit on it that much. Let's see. Really did not knit on it, maybe just a few rounds. But here, like, yeah, you can definitely see that line. Look at it. Not fun. So I am in a couple different weird places. One, I wasn't sure about the body, the line, let alone. Like, that's thing number one to fix. I'll go in more depth in that in just a second. The length, I did a try on of it, and I wasn't sure exactly where the length was hitting me, because when I tried it on, the back was where I wanted it to fit, but the front still seemed way too short. So what I did is I wound up my third skein, because I only have 3 skeins of yarn for this project. I went ahead and did the collar. So the collar is done. I just need to bind off, but I also need to decide what kind of bind off I want to do. I don't know if I want to go ahead and just do an Italian bind off. The pattern says you can do an Italian bind off or your preferred bind off method. Typically, I'm just a traditional bind off gal. But if I'm already putting a little bit more effort into this shirt, maybe I'll go ahead and learn how to do an Italian bind off, because I've never done an Italian bind off. So I did the collar, I need to bind off, and that's just going to bring the body up. So I'll get a more accurate gauge of where this shirt is hitting me. That's step 1 of sweater surgery extravaganza. Step 2 is I can't believe I'm going to do it, is I'm going to cut the sweater. I'm going to cut my shirt. And what I'm going to do is, I guess it's similar to steeking, which I have never done, but I'm going to pick up a few rows before I added the second skein, and then a few rows below where I added the skein, and I'm going to cut into my shirt. And the reason why I am opting for that is because I want to wear this to Fiberfest. It's going to be a race against the clock to see if I can actually get this done, but I didn't want to completely unravel and lose all of this length that I have knitted so far. And then the plan is to do a fade of these skeins. So I think technically it is alternating skeins, but similar. I think you can do like a every other row fade. There's a couple of different techniques to fade skeins in, and a lot of the times I see it with like variegated yarns working like a fade pattern. So that is the plan. I'm going to alternate skein 1 and skein 2 to blend this more, and then Kitchener the rest of the body back to that. It sounds terrifying. I'm terrified. But I think it's very much going to be one of those trust the process things. So I'm just going to have to trust the process. And so that's the plan, to blend the skeins together. And then I still need to do the sleeves. I have not done the sleeves yet. I don't know if I want to go ahead and do the sleeves right after I finish the collar. That way all I have to worry about is the body. I'm not sure yet. But that's what we're working with so far. Oh, I think it's raining outside. it just started raining. But that is the plan for this Q3 knit. I am a little nervous, but it's like, once my friends and I talked about, like, yes, you spent the money. This is very nice yarn. Like, I want to do this shirt justice because I know it's going to be such a beautiful top once it's finished. So that's what we're going to do. I just need to bind off the collar, and then maybe we'll do the sleeves just so I can get these stitch holders out of the way, and then just focus on the body, and then I have my remaining yarn to work on the body and focus on that. So that's the tentative plan. Let me talk a little bit more about this pattern. So I am knitting the size 4, and I am knitting it on a US size 4. I have my needles going. I never cut the yarn on the body. So US size 4 or a 3.5 millimeter. I did go up a needle size and the pattern calls for, and I did hit gauge. And then on the collar, I'm doing a US 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter. And then I'm aiming for 4 to 6 inches of positive ease. All the trends I've done so far, like I don't know if I'm spot on that amount of ease, but it fits great. So that's what we're working with. And the yarn that I am using is Plucky Knitter. So I'm gonna focus. Plucky Knitter yarn. And then, whoa, yeah. This is on their Primo, oh, there we go. This is on their Primo fingering base, which is 75% superwash merino, 20% cashmere, and 5% nylon. So that cashmere is the luxe bit of it. And so I was like, yes, I spent the money on this. I want it to be nice. I have 3 skeins total of this yarn. I'm working from 2 right now. This is my skein. Oh, focus. I'm working with the new camera if you can't tell. This is skein number 3. And this is what's left of skein number 2. This is still attached to the body. This is what I started the collar in. This is what I'm going to end up alternating to blend together. So I'm excited about this process. Like, as much as I'm dreading cutting into this and thinking all is going to be lost, like, I am so excited to challenge myself as a knitter and really just learn some new skills. So that's the approach and the mindset I'm going into this with. I am following everything to pattern. Really, the only modification that I may make is just the body length. I think for my size, it's not necessarily cropped. I'm not sure. We'll see. I need to do another try on once I finish the collar and sleeves to see where the body is hitting me and how I like it. All right, that was a lot for that project. My second whip that I'm going to be talking about is the Lonely Leftovers vest by Wool and Beyond. And this was an unexpected cast on that I had cast on a few weeks ago. And this is a vest. And we've got a back detail, and then the entire vest is going to have an I-cord edging with this pink color. I didn't really knit on it too much over the past couple of weeks. This is where I was before, so a few rows in there. It does work up very quickly, but still have a ways to go on the body just to have it the length that I want, because I do want this a bit of a longer vest. I don't want it necessarily cropped, maybe either at I don't know if I want it at my waist, maybe a little bit longer. We'll see. This is being knit up in Brooklyn Tweed Loft. And then this is 100% American Targhee Columbia wool. And this is a fingering weight yarn. This is a 50-gram skein, and then the colorway is Caribou. So I have 6 skeins total of this. This has been in my stash for 4 or 5 years, and I'm finally using it. And so far oh, and I'm holding this yarn double. So I'm just caking up 2 skeins at a time and then holding it double that way. So this is skeins 3 and 4. So the yarn is going a long way. Like, I'm very impressed with how it's going. And I'm making the size large in the vest. I did get off to a bit of a rough start on the pattern. Just mood-wise, but I mean, it's going along just fine now. The next point of focus I'll have to worry about is just the bottom shaping, because it's supposed to be like a little bit of a scooped hem detail on the inside of the vest. So going great so far. I am contemplating, just because I want to put all my focus onto my Skyline Tee, I think what I'm going to do is designate this as my Q4 project. That wasn't my plan originally, but just with the timing and kind of like mental offload, I might just call this Q4. We'll see. Oh, and I am knitting this on, what size is this needle? US 10.5 or a 6.5 millimeter. And then I did make a few modifications as far as like the I-cord detail in the back and that contrast color. Those are noted in my project page, linked down below in the description box. Final project I'm going to talk about today is some vanilla socks on 9-inch circulars. And this is a commission that I am making for a coworker. And oh gosh, this yarn is so cool. I love it so much, how it's knitting up. Vanilla socks on 9-inch circulars by the Crazy Sock Lady. That's the pattern that I'm following relatively. Working on 9-inch circulars, size US 1. I am in the middle of the foot right now. This is going to be a men's 10.5. And so a little bit longer of the foot that I need to work with. It's raining again. And so I've got a ways to go. And this is the first time I'm knitting a sock that's not my own size. So I am borrowing a yarn ruler from a friend. I know this isn't going to be large enough, so I'm just going to have to measure what my gauge is per inch and then kind of work from there once I hit the end of this, because I know that's not going to be large enough, which is fine. But I do, once I get to the toe, I do want to weigh my yarn and see how much I've got left to work with, because I've only got 1 skein of this yarn and I want to make sure I have enough for sock 2. So I might need to do a contrast color for the toe, which I think will be okay. The yarn is Old Stash yarn. This is from Miss Babs in the Putnam fingering base. And then the colorway is DFW Fiber Fest 2022. And this was the show colorway. And then this is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. So that's what that is. Okay, so let's talk about goals for the upcoming week. I do want to bind off the collar of my Skyline Tee. I just need to decide what kind of bind off I want to do. Whether that's tubular or just a traditional bind off, but bind off very loosely to make sure I can still fit my head through. And then I would like to go ahead, well, I don't know if I want to pick up my stitches to cut into the sweater, if I want to go ahead and do the sleeves first. So I need to make a decision there. For my vest, I think I'm actually going to put that on hold while I work on my Skyline Tee and my socks, because the socks are a commission and I'm fighting for my life to have the Skyline Tee done by Fiberfest. So I think the vest is going to go into hibernation. And then for the socks, I want to finish the foot length and weigh how many grams I've done so far on sock 1 and make sure I have enough for sock 2. I think that's pretty much it for my project stuff. The next portion of this video is just going to be all things DFW Fiber Fest, and really, well, it's mainly tips for DFW Fiber Fest, but I feel like you could apply a lot of these tips to any Fiber Festival that is going on that you're attending. I know Flock just happened. Rhinebeck is coming up. I'm sure there are other fiber festivals in your area, but this one is specifically for DFW Fiber Fest. I do have some notes, so I'm going to be looking a little bit off screen because I have my laptop pulled up with everything that I want to talk about to make sure it's covered. I have it broken down in a few categories. I've got parking, what to wear, food, and shopping in the vendor hall. So I think that should cover everything, but let's dive in and talk about Fiberfest. The first thing I'll touch on is parking. So DFW Fiberfest is at the Irving Convention Center in Irving, which is just outside of Dallas in Texas. There is a parking garage specific to the convention center that is attached to the convention center, and that parking is free all weekend. That is something that DFW Fiber Fest does for the attendees, because typically that is a paid parking garage, but it is free for the weekend for those attending Fiber Fest. So you just drive right on in. It's super nice because that area can get very crowded and condensed, especially if there's a concert going on, because there is like a concert venue, and it's just a very popular hop-in place, and so it's nice that we can get free parking. So if you do want to carpool with someone, you definitely can, but just know you don't have to pay for parking. Let's talk about what to wear. Number one tip on what to wear is comfortable footwear. So the great thing about DFW Fiber Fest is that it is an indoor festival with air conditioning, because you just never know how hot Texas is going to be, because it is September. It's still very warm here. But the convention center is concrete flooring, so just bear that in mind with what shoes you're wearing. Because you will be able to tell after a full weekend on like your joints and your knees and your feet that you have been walking on concrete all weekend. A lot of people wear tennis shoes. Some people wear like thicker soled sandals. Just use your best judgment of what you're going to be comfortable with. You do lots of walking, standing, talking, shopping in the vendor hall. Some booths do have a bit more of a cushioned floor that offers some relief, but just use that, keep that in mind. One year I did try to wear my Vans, which are flat shoes, and my feet did not appreciate that. So tennis shoes do make a whole world of difference. So just keep that in mind. Layers. You do want to dress in layers. That's just my personal opinion, preference, and tip to you. It is an indoor event, especially in the classrooms up on the higher floors. It can get very chilly in there, so just either having a shawl, a wrap, or just like a light cardigan, sweater, whatever it is to put on during that, because it does get chilly. But also keep in mind, in the vendor hall, there's a lot of bodies moving around, so it can get a little warmer, especially if you're an anxious person. I can get a little overstimulated sometimes and get anxious, and so I am hot. And so I need to be able to take a layer off if need be. Keep in mind that in Texas, you don't know what the weather is going to do. It could be very warm, it could be rainy. So just kind of having something that you could easily layer on and off, because you may be walking to restaurants, but I'll get into that more a little bit later. And then show off your work. Wear your makes, whether you've knit it, crochet it, you had a printed t-shirt or you've made a t-shirt. It is so fun to see what everyone wears. It's not required to make your knit or to wear your knits, crochets, whatever garments. Not required, but it's super fun to see what everyone wears. It's so fun to see if you're matching a pattern with someone, to like ask them about their project. It's a great conversation starter. Definitely not required, so don't feel pressured to have to wear something hand knit, or don't feel like you need to crank something out by Fiberfest. Just dress comfortably, you know. Again, like I mentioned, you don't know what the weather's going to do. You're moving around all day, so maybe wearing a knit isn't going to be ideal for you. So just dress comfortably. Totally your preference, but it is fun to see and connect over what everyone is wearing. Self-made things. Okay, now let's talk about food. The convention center does have concessions inside that you have available to purchase. I believe the lower level concessions are more like candies, chips, nachos, I think like hot dogs, popcorn, typical concession stand, things like that. The second level does have some hot dishes. I don't know if it's all levels have the baked potato, but the baked potato is a real popular thing. I think you can get it loaded. I think you might be able to get brisket. I can't remember. I think there's burgers and hot dogs. And then the second level also has like some grab and go snacks. And I think it's not an actual Starbucks, but it's like one of those We Proudly Brew Starbucks. So you might have like just a limited option menu there. But there's plenty of seating and great places just to sit and snack and rehydrate. There are a ton of restaurants nearby. So the Irving Convention Center is like kind of right on the edge of, I don't know what you could even call it. There's like a concert venue, which is the Toyota Music Factory. And then in that whole area, it's just restaurants like all over the place. And so it's easily a walkable distance. Again, this is where the comfy shoes and the layers come into play. Because if you're walking to a restaurant and meeting up with people, just know you may be outside and it could be hot. And you're already tired from being on your feet all day. So again, comfy shoes and layers. But there's plenty of restaurants to sit and eat at. Just something to keep in mind is you may want to either call ahead or see if the restaurant requires reservations ahead of time, just because there are a bunch of different styles of restaurants and it's going to be crowded already with the Fiberfest people in town, but there could also be concerts going on at the same time as well. I believe last year there was a bit more foot traffic because there was a concert going on and people were lined up or getting ready to line up. So just depends. So just keep that in mind and make sure you're giving yourself enough time to get some food, especially if you're trying to time it with a class that you're taking. You can bring outside food and drink into the convention center. I was trying to look online and see if there were any restrictions, but I couldn't find any. I'll just make a general one myself and say probably no glass, I would think, if that's like the restriction there. But I also recommend bringing a refillable water bottle. There are water fill stations that are free around like the vendor hall. So you can just bring your bottle, fill it up with water. It's really great to have during the day and just stay hydrated. You're talking a lot, you're moving around a lot. You can get a little carried away from chatting with friends throughout the day. Just remember to stay hydrated. So it's super nice that they have those water stations. And then I always like to bring my own snacks in, especially if you're taking a class and it's in the middle of like maybe breakfast, lunch, dinner time, or a time that you would typically eat. And those classes can be long. You may only get like a quick break in between some of your session. And so just carrying things like either beef jerky, a protein bar, maybe some trail mix, or like anything like that I would say that doesn't require refrigeration really, is great to have in your bag, pack with you. I've seen people bring stuff to make sandwiches and bring bags of chips and then sit in the vendor hall. There are a ton of tables in the vendor hall to sit at. That way you can take a lunch break. There's benches and seating outside on the upper levels. There's plenty of spaces to spread out. I've never had an issue finding somewhere to just sit down and take a break. Let's talk about shopping and being in the vendor hall in general. Masks aren't required at DFW Fiber Fest. Whenever we came back from COVID shutdown, we just had to abide by whatever masking things were in place by the CDC. They're currently not required, but just check the website in case that changes. But there are people who do wear masks, so just be mindful and considerate of that. You may not want to or choose to, you don't have to, but let's respect those who do choose to. Again, there's a lot of people in the vendor hall, so just be mindful of that. Another thing that I recommend for Fiberfest is a bag to carry it all. To me, this is one of the most important decisions besides like what yarn you're shopping for to make whenever attending DFW Fiberfest. You can purchase totes. They do have a tote. I believe if you take a class, you automatically get whatever DFW branded tote that they have that year, and then they have any extras for sale. There's not always a guarantee you can get one, so that's usually great options, usually pretty good size. But a larger bag just for carrying all your stuff is going to be key. I like to make sure I have room in my bag for any purchases that I'm going to make, my snacks, my water, and any projects that I'm going to bring, which I'll get more into that in a little bit. Just think about what kind of bag you want to carry. I typically prefer a backpack. I've done like the one shoulder tote, and especially wearing a knit, like my knit is digging into my shoulder. It gets exhausting. And it's a little bit harder for me personally to navigate within the booth, especially if there's a lot of people trying to like navigate this big, huge bag. I did have a better experience with the backpack, although the backpack I used, I didn't get the most space that I needed. The vendors do give you bags with your purchase, but it just depends on your preference on how you like to shop. So just depends there. And then I think I have seen some people, if I remember correctly, who did like rolly carts to lug around their purchases in. So just think about like how you want to load up your bag. For any payment options, I don't know if any vendors take cash. I personally have never used cash at Fiberfest. Everyone does take card, but you might want to carry some cash. Maybe you want to focus all your cash on your meals and snacks and then just focus your card on your yarn purchases or anything else from the vendors. So totally up to you. You may want to bring some cash just in case. I don't know where to find out. I mean, because it's just so vendor specific. So, but everyone takes card. Something that you may not consider, but to me is helpful, is either a pen, paper, notepad, or just some method to take notes. There are so many vendors, so many beautiful yarns, notions, bags, crafts. I like to do a lap around the vendor hall before I commit to anything. And so just having a way to take notes and say, I saw this yarn at this booth, and just have a way to take notes of either what you're shopping for or things you have your eye on before you commit to purchasing is super helpful. But if you want to have no plan and that's your vibe, totally great. I've seen people do both, but I know for me, I like to have a project into your mind, or a project or two in mind to shop for, along with anything that I wasn't planning to shop for. Like I like to note those things down and kind of take inventory of what's like almost in my cart before I go and actually make those purchases, which I do need to come up with a couple patterns I want to shop for, because I have not done that yet and I feel like I'm behind. Something else about the shopping and vendor hall, bring a project to work on. You may not want to bring your complicated projects, but either a pair of socks, a beanie, something mindless, or just honestly whatever you prefer. If you want to bring the big project, go ahead. But as I mentioned, it's so nice to have all those tables in the vendor hall to just take a minute, take a break from the shopping, or cast on a project with the new yarn that you just bought. Just sit and take a break. I've met so many people just by sitting for a minute and knitting, and it's just a nice break to take from the vendor hall. There is a coat check, so there are some larger items for sale, such as spinning wheels, looms, what else? I can't think of anything else, but bigger things. There is a coat check, and I believe you can just drop off your bags there, your shopping bags there as well. But there is a coat check, I believe, right outside the vendor hall where you can just check your things in for the day, especially if you are going to lunch or you have to go to a class. So that is an option for you. Another thing that you can do, it's not required, but in the vendor hall there is the tradition of swapping stitch markers. Some people make them, some people just purchase them and trade them as you meet different knitters, crocheters, crafters, makers, just other shoppers in the vendor hall. It is super fun to kind of swap stitch markers. I have made stitch markers in the past, and then funny story, I left them somewhere. I think I left them either in my hotel room or I couldn't find them in my suitcase. But I have gone without any and still have gotten some because people just want to share. It's super fun. Not required. This year I am doing a little bit of a different take on it. I am making friendship bracelets. I don't have any with me here to show you because they're all somewhere else in the house and my son is napping and I don't want to disturb him. But I am making friendship bracelets this year and I am so excited. They look so cute, and I've been making a few a day to try to build up a good amount because I feel like people will enjoy them. And then I'm trying to make them with different wrist sizes in mind. It's just beads on elastic. So if you want to join me and make friendship bracelets to exchange, that would be super fun. So if you do see me at Fiberfest, be sure to come up, say hello. I would love to meet you and give you a friendship bracelet. I think that is all kind of the tips and knowledge that I can think of that was most important for me to write down. If you have other tips that you would like to share with anyone else who might be going, leave them in the comments below. All right, I think that's just about it with all things Yarn and Fiberfest. Let's talk about reading, watching, and listening. Reading, I just finished After You by JoJo Moyes, or Moyes, I'm not sure how you pronounce their name. It was the second book. It's the next one in Me Before You. And yeah, it was good. I liked it. I feel like the movie made things seem much more chippery. And this one I wouldn't call it as such. I feel like it gets a little bit into more sadness and grieving, which was an interesting thing to read about, but I enjoyed the book. I believe there's another one called Still Me is the third book in the series, so that is on my list to borrow from my library. Watching, I finished Abbott Elementary, and right now I'm rewatching Gilmore Girls. I have seen it once all the way through. I'm trying to get into the fall spirit, but I've decided I have too much trauma to enjoy Gilmore Girls like other people do. I just need to look up a list that is happy nostalgic fall vibes. I need that episode list because everything else just stresses me out, okay? I know some people are diehard Gilmore Girls people. but I am not a Gilmore girl gal. But I can't help but watch it. It's mindless and it's nice to knit too. Still listening to the latest season of Something Was Wrong. It's such an interesting season to listen to. Not the cheeriest of things, but it's just what I'm listening to right now. All right, I feel like I've rambled on a lot this episode, so let's finish her up with 3 simple joys, and then I will sign off. If you are new, each video episode, I just list 3 simple joys, and they are 3 random things that I am thankful for, and they range from a lot of different things. Simple joy number 1 is fall, and I put fall in quotes because this is North Texas, and we get like 2 days of fall. And so it's like a fake fall. We're in fake fall right now because it's been very rainy. We have cooler weather, which means it's just not 90 degrees anymore. The fair was in town. The state fair is happening like in a month. Pumpkin spice season is back. I've already had one pumpkin spice latte. So just getting into that cozy time of year, I really appreciate. Simple joy number 2 is short work weeks coming up. I have been so crazy stressed with work lately. I've got a lot of big projects to deliver, but I do have some short work weeks the next 3 weeks, and I'm very much looking forward to that time off. So just looking forward to that. Simple joy number 3 is cherry lime Coke Zeros. I have just been making my own little drinks. So I bought some cherries and limes from the store, and then I have my Coke Zero. And then so I will just make those. It's so nice and a fun little treat rather than going to Sonic and getting the drinks. I can just make them at home. So that's been a super fun treat to have. All right, that's all I've got for you this week. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me on this episode. Be sure to come back for the next episode and we'll do our first giveaway. So exciting. The countdown is on to Fiberfest, y'all. I'm so excited. I think next week I'm going to do a video that's going to include what's in my bag. Like I talked about what I recommend having in your bag, but I think I'm going to go through how I'm going to pack my bag. I don't know if I want to do that next week or the week after, since that is Fiberfest. We'll see. But I'm going to just include and sprinkle in anything Fiberfest related where I can, so you can be prepared for it upcoming in a couple of weeks. So again, leave any tips down below that you have for others that I didn't include for Fiberfest, and I hope to see you there. Until next time, stay caffeinated.